Let's say we have two couples, the Joneses and the Millers, and they're both going to retire at the same age with the same amount of money and the same living costs. So they're going to pull out the same amount of money from the same portfolio that's invested the exact same. So the only difference is when they start, because the Millers are 5 years younger than the Joneses. Now you've seen a lot of sevens pop up on the screen here, and that's because everyone has the same amount of luck, don't they? Or luck doesn't really matter, does it? Well, we're going to give everyone the same amount of bad luck, so we'll even that out so everything should end up the same for both couples, right? Well, the Joneses start out retirement strong, with 5 years that are great, right in a row. Then a few bad years, then a little back and forth. And at the end of the 10th year of retirement, they have a little left to keep on going. Well, let's take a look at the Millers. Remember, they are starting with the exact same numbers just 5 years later than Joneses. And they're starting out not so hot. In fact, they've got 4 years that are bad in a row. That's the same amount of bad luck that we gave the Joneses, but look at what it did to their portfolio. Almost half of it is gone. You know, I said we're going to keep things all equal, but let's give the Millers a break, right? Let's give them a 28% return in the positive direction. You know, they went down -7 4 times, so it's 28%. That should set them up straight, right? Well, if you look at the numbers and continue to run them out, and we do the same back and forth, and then we finish real strong, it really doesn't make a difference, because somewhere in year 8, they run out of money. Much, much faster than the Joneses did, even though the only difference was they started 5 years later. Now, our example was a little bit extreme, so I might have lost you when you're looking at a $77,770 need for income, because then that amount of nest egg, you'd certainly want to live a little bit more within your means. But that really let us see how critical sequence of returns are in a short time frame. It's becoming very common for couples to live well into 30 years of retirement. So if we look at a more modest income, let's say a little over $33,000, and a longer, more reasonable timeline like 30 years, and a market condition that has more ups and downs, and just as a hypothetical, starting similar to our other example, but ending with more positives and negatives, the Millers still can't keep up with the Joneses. In fact, they ran out of money a full 5 years earlier, even though they started 5 years later, and everything else was equal. Your plan has to account for sequence of returns without knowing what that sequence will be. And it has to account for longevity when you don't have a crystal ball to your own mortality. Make no mistake about it, if you don't implement a plan to protect yourself from these risks, you have planned to leave it to chance. And failure in this world means you run out of money to live on.